Hello, I'm Mr. Cooper, Director of Science out at Grange Academies Trust. I'm going to go through with you today P2 Electricity, and it's lesson 2, and we're going to look at a simple series circuit. You'll have to remove all distractions, please, and you'll need a pen and paper in order to complete some of the tasks. So, as a starter activity, what I'd like you to do is use these letters S, A, C and B, and each of them is the first letter of the component. So come up with a component that begins with S, A, C and a B. Can you draw the component, and also can you write down what the component does within a circuit? You've got 60 seconds to complete that task. Excellent, and stop there and let's go through some of the answers. Okay, so the first one is a switch, and the switch, the diagram's there, but a switch disconnects or connects the circuit. The second one, A, is ammeter, and an ammeter measures the current within a circuit. Third one is cell, and cell provides the power to the circuit. And then the final one is a bulb, and a bulb converts electrical energy into light and heat. So today's objectives are to explain why the current at each point in a series circuit must be the same in terms of electrons not being lost from the wire, and the challenge outcome is to describe how current varies around a series circuit. So what I'd like you to do for the next 5 minutes is, what we want to do is to investigate how current may change at different points within a series circuit. So what I'd like you to do is work out how we could do this. What equipment would we need? And I'd like you to sketch a circuit of how the components will be put together. And the components we'll be using are the same components that we use in the starter activity. So you've got 5 minutes to complete this task. Okay, and stop there. Let's see how we've got on. Okay, in order to investigate how current may change in a series circuit, we need to use an ammeter. An ammeter measures current, and we'll be measuring current at different points around the circuit. Therefore, we might need 2 or 3 ammeters. Other equipment that we might need are bulbs, power pack, or a cell, and a switch. And here's a potential diagram that you could have drawn that's got 2 ammeters in and a bulb. So we're measuring the current at A1, and we'll be measuring the current at A2. Okay, so what I'd like you to do now is to draw these 2 circuits in your book, and we're going to be measuring the current at A1 and A2, and then in the second diagram we're measuring the current at A1, A2 and A3. Okay, so we should have a diagram like this in our books. In a lab, we'd set the components similar to this, where you've got 2 ammeters and you've got the bulb and cell, and then we connect the wires and you'd have a setup similar to this. Now, on this diagram, you should be able to see the readings from both of the ammeters. And you can see the bulb there, and the bulb's on, and we can see a reading of 0.18 in one ammeter and 0.18 in the other ammeter. Can you write down what you observe in these readings, please? So if we go back to our books, we should have the 2 readings written down, 0.18 and 0.18. So the observation is the fact that the current is the same at both points of that circuit. So with that knowledge, you should be able to put a prediction down for the readings at A1, A2 and A3. Now the predictions just needs to describe the pattern that you'd see in these 3 results. So in a box we should have a diagram similar to this for the second circuit, where we've got 3 ammeters and 2 bulbs. The components in the science lab would look similar to this, and then if we connect them with wires it would look like this. Here's a diagram of what we'd observe, and you can see from 1 to 3 ammeters you can take the readings from each one. What I'd like you to do is just write down those readings in your books and write down any observations that you see. Okay, so here we've got the readings from the 2 circuits. The first one that we did, the readings were 0.18 amps, and the second one was 0.13 amps. So what we'd observe here is the fact that we've added more light bulbs into the circuit, and you can see that the current measured in amps has dropped by a small amount. Now, what would you think would happen if we added more and more bulbs onto this circuit? So here we've got 3 bulbs, and as we can see from the readings, the current in amps has dropped from 0.13 down to 0.10. Okay, what I'd like to do now is to write a conclusion for your practicals. What observations have you seen, and what conclusions can you draw from those observations? Use this clip below to help you with your conclusion.
And the current that's flowing in this series circuit consists of electrons. Lots and lots of negatively charged electrons flowing around the circuit. Now we're going to have a look at the current that you would measure in this series circuit, and to do that we can put some ammeters in the circuit. Now as this electron flows around the circuit, you'll notice that whenever it passes through the first ammeter, A1, it also passes through the second ammeter, A2. It also passes through both of the bulbs, then through both of the cells, and then it passes through the first ammeter again, and the second ammeter again. So every time it passes through the first ammeter, it also passes through the second ammeter. And if all the electrons do this, it means the current through the first ammeter and the current through the second ammeter is going to be the same. Let's say the current through this ammeter is 5 amps, and the current in this part of the circuit is also going to be 5 amps. Now we could continue adding ammeters anywhere in this series circuit. We could put an ammeter here and an ammeter here, and the electrons have to go through each part of the circuit. They have to go through each of those ammeters. So the current you would measure through these ammeters would be the same. So if somebody asked you what's the current through ammeter A3, you could just say the current's 5 amps. If someone said what's the current through the first cell, you'd say, well, it's a series circuit, the current is 5 amps. What's the current through ammeter A4? The current is 5 amps. The current is the same everywhere in a series circuit because the electrons have no choice. They have to flow through each part of the circuit, and none of the electrons get to escape. So they all flow through every single part of the circuit, just the same. So the current is the same everywhere in a series circuit.
Okay, let's have a look at some past exam questions regarding series circuits. So for this exam question, the circuit contains 2 cells, an ammeter and a lamp. The reading on the ammeter is 0.2 amps. So what you have to work out is what will be the reading on the ammeters in the other 2 circuits below. You've got 60 seconds to complete this question. Okay, and stop there. We should have worked out from today's lesson, we know that the current is the same at each part of a circuit. So the current in the first one should be 0.2 amps and also 0.2 amps in the second circuit. Okay, so in today's lesson we've looked at the current and we've seen that the current is the same throughout all points of the circuit, and the fact that the current actually doesn't vary around a series circuit unless you add more and more components in there. So thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to presenting to you for lesson 3.